a very COVID Christmas talkback. This is that part where a lot of the people try and escape the theater and we keep you there and make you talk to us about our show. But this is better. You're either at home or you're here because you want to be here. So that's very exciting. We've got three of the playwrights from A Very COVID Christmas. Deborah Chava singer, Bethany Dickens, and Cory Skurdal. I hope I'm saying your name right, Cory, and if I'm not, please correct me.
You are.
I am, all right. I'm on a roll. Also here is Laura Spires, our artistic director. I'm gonna have her kick it off real briefly. And just, Laura, if you could just talk about, I guess the idea behind doing, essentially a socially distanced Christmas show. I know, maybe I just described the whole thing, but if you wanna go into the birth of it, if you will.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, thanks for coming. So we knew we wanted to do a show around the holidays, and with everything being so uncertain with COVID, it was really hard to commit to any one plan, not knowing what was going to change in the world. And our sister company, OGP Productions, had done a socially distanced theater festival in August that went really, really well. So we decided to go with the theme of A Very COVID Christmas, and we wanted all actors to be at least 6 feet apart or wearing masks and gloves and PPE and all of that good stuff. So the idea really stemmed from wanting to do a show and needing to keep our actors safe. And I thought the playwrights did such an incredible job of coming up with creative reasons for why people had to be standing far apart. It was just my favorite thing to read all of the scripts and see how playwrights had come up with solutions to our problem.
And there you have it. By the way, you other folks in here, and actually everybody in the chat, if you have questions as we go through and you don't want to raise your hand and say it out loud, you can throw it in our chat, in the chat there, and Colleen Dunn will share it with me, or I'll see it. Maybe I can multitask, but yeah. So if we can, real quick, if our three playwrights, our distinguished playwrights, if you guys want to kind of introduce yourself, how you were involved in the show or what shows you wrote, and maybe your elevator bio. We'll start with Deborah Chava Singer, our West Coast correspondent.
Hey, I'm Deborah, and I have to look up what my plays are called. It's Hanukkah Mishaps, #3, Cooking with Oil, and The Holiday Curse. And I was the playwright. So, and I don't know what to say in terms of bio. I've been involved with some of the OGP things, so I think that's how you guys knew me.
I think this is technically your first show for Mad Lab, though not your first show at Mad Lab.
Yeah, I think so.
We did the OGP distance.
The summer, yeah.
I was told to introduce myself as well. I'm Stephen Woosley. I was one of the playwrights. I'm your moderator for tonight. Thank you, Deborah. Bethany Dickens, you're up next.
Hello, thank you. Happy to be here. So I wrote for Mad Lab this time around 2 plays. One was called Woman on a Ladder, and one was called 2021. And they were amazingly well acted and well directed. The police's punch. And brief bio, I love short plays. I've had over 50 short plays produced nationally, but Mad Lab has the distinction of having performed my very first short play a couple years ago. My full-length, The Consciousness, has been produced several times and won Best Play at the Tampa Bay Theater Festival last year, and I was recently given a spring residency at Clamor Theater Company. But my favorite role is that I'm also the Mad Lab literary manager, which is the best thing, and a national mentor for the Young Writers Program. So thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And yeah, we're very happy that you're our literary manager, among other things. Cory, that leaves you.
Hi, I'm Cory. This is actually my first involvement with Mad Lab. So I saw the call for plays and I decided I would give it a shot and tried to figure out how to write something, and eventually sent it in, and you accepted it, so thank you very much. And I thought that Susie and Tay did a tremendous job with the script. I was so pleased with it. Very, very happy. So brief bio. Mostly here in Columbus. So I've been involved with Evolution Theater Company. I've had a couple of plays produced there. Been involved with Theater Roundtable. Catco as well. My play Sticks and Stones won the Playwriting Fellowship in 2014 from Catco and the Greater Columbus Arts Council. So that in brief is my story.
Awesome. And welcome to Mad Lab. Happy to have you. Welcome. Yeah, and the amazing thing is, one, that you were able to write a 10-minute monologue that was pretty awesome, and that somehow Susie memorized that so well. Now, Tay was her director, who was very strict, is that the good word? Yeah, strict, effective at getting people to memorize lines. So I was not that surprised, but it was a fun show. I'll throw this out to all three of you. And Bethany and Deborah, you wrote for, obviously, the OGP show, OGP Social Distancing Festival, which had the similar parameters. People had to be 6 feet apart, or mass, or whatever. Bethany's show we did then had two people talking to each other from different places. One was on top of, I think, the Empire State Building. The other was getting ready for a date. And Deborah Chava singers were both also on roofs of buildings, but different buildings. And there were possibly undead people involved, and a terrible wedding, because Terry's wedding was the worst. But I say all that to say, as you guys, and whoever wants to go first, please do, as the three of you got ready to write this time, and you guys can answer about the OGP show as well, what came first? Was it, I have an idea to write this script and I'll figure out how to separate them? Or did the separation idea, how to keep them separate, or mass or whatever, come first? Or was it something completely different than that?
I guess I'll go first. I think for me it was the separation came first, and then it was how do I keep them separate, and then it kind of went from there. So.
Yeah, it was really a neat visual idea. So I very much started with the visual for this particular show, for the Mad Lab show, of, keeping people distance. They're not just distance because of COVID, there's something else. And that was so fun to play around. As a writing prompt, it was such a great and fun artistic exercise that then led to great things. For my OGP one, actually, that was a play that had already been written and produced, but it just so happened to work out. Serendipitous.
It worked very well.
But yeah, it was a really neat exercise and a neat challenge. And it was really fun to participate in a theater company where there was thinking outside the box in terms of what could be done, as opposed to like, well, we either can't do anything or we have to do it exactly as we've always done it. So thanks for that.
Sure.
I guess I approached it in a very different way. I just, I looked at the call for scripts, and what occurred to me was a single person, a monologue. And this is only the third monologue I've written, and I wrote all my monologues last summer. I've never written a monologue before last summer. But I thought about the call for the scripts and the social distancing parameters that you set. And then I thought about what my memory of a Christmas was, because that was also one of the things that you specified, is what does Christmas mean to you? And Christmas for me, growing up in a very small town in rural North Dakota, was going to the Christmas candlelight service. And I thought, well, how would that work these days? And it wouldn't, and it doesn't. And that's why I wrote the play, where everything basically goes wrong. So that's how this monologue, this script came about, and how I sent it to you.
Cool. Awesome. And yeah, and the amazing thing is, I think over both these shows is, and I didn't read all the scripts, Laura did, but at least the ones that got accepted, I saw. Somehow all these playwrights, nobody copied each other. There was no like, oh, we have two of these shows, or we have two of these shows, which was cool. Doors, mass, people playing catch, whatever, in both shows. So that was cool. Do we have any questions, Colin? Cool. I thought I had. So actually, Cory kind of beat me to my next question. was
Stephen,
how, which is,
you haven't told us how you wrote your play.
oh, thank you. So I knew I wanted to write a Hermie and Rudolph show. I've been playing Hermie at Mad Lab for 15 years now. So I knew I wanted to write a show about them, and I couldn't figure out at first how to do it. And I think initially I thought about the prison setup, which we ended up having from one of our trailers. And Colleen really wanted a prison show since we had the fiberglass windows. But then I think I actually watched the video of Fame and Fortune and was like, oh, that makes more sense. It's a tree. And then so I kind of started with the characters. Then I figured out it's Hermie and Rudolph 20 years into the future, or 30 years, depending on the age of the actors that we ended up getting. And then kind of went from there, and then just decided we needed a 6-foot tree. So yeah, and it's here in our house now. It's actually our Christmas tree for this year. So bonus. So yeah, so that's where mine came from. And then I borrowed liberally from a movie called Pain and Glory. If anyone saw that a couple years ago, Antonio Banderas was nominated for an Oscar for it. Pedro Almodovar, I'm saying it wrong. Pedro Almodovar movie, but I highly recommend that too. So I shouldn't say I borrowed liberally. It was very inspired by that. I borrowed liberally from the Rudolph special, but so that's how I came up with mine. And initially mine was gonna be a lot more dramatic, and I think Colleen talked me out of it because she's my smart advisor. I think I just saw a question. Did a question pop up?
Yes.
In the chat?
Yes. Has the exercise of writing characters distanced or somehow safe inspired any other work from these playwrights yet?
That's a good question. So the question is, has writing these shows where people with these parameters having to be distanced, social distancing, has it inspired have you guys written other shows beyond what we've done here? Or are you working on shows with that premise?
Well, as you all know, I'm really fond of sending you way too many scripts. So the answer is yes. Yeah, I had several come out of there, and a couple have been performed from the OGP festival that weren't selected for that, but were performed. So yeah, I think there is definitely, I see script calls probably at least one a month that's asking us to think in that way. So absolutely. And again, you make a playwright think outside the box. I think we come up with really interesting things.
Yeah, I think some people, me and my brother, who's a musician, singer-songwriter, I think he and I work better if we have, here's your parameters, rather than just go do whatever you want. Because then we're just gonna.
That's scary. That's terrifying to me.
we're just gonna browse the internet instead, and let's stare at a blank screen. But Deborah, Cory, sorry, I'm hogging the conversation. Are you guys working on anything else?
I guess, well, I would say that the monologues, focusing on the monologues this last summer, I think that grew out of the whole COVID experience and trying to write something that would be safe for an actor to perform, something that a theater company might grab at because of the way things work these days, something that would lend itself to a Zoom or online production. So those monologues, I think, developed out of all of that. As for the future, I'm not really writing anything right now that's geared for that. I'm writing things that are more traditional stage play, but also thinking about how they might be tweaked to, fit in this model, however long we have to live with this model, which I hope is not very long.
Yes.
Let's see. I wrote one for, I wrote a play for Zoom that kind of, many years ago when I was in school, I had kind of written, it wasn't so much it wasn't really good. It was more like therapy for what I was dealing with. And so it was this play that had a phone call in it, and most of it was just phone calls, and it was bad. And anyway, but so I think I've seen some calls looking for plays for Zoom, and I was like, it actually would make sense to kind of have somebody doing a phone call. So it basically, what I had written years ago had been this full length really more like art therapy thing for me. But so yeah, I got like a 10-minute thing out of that. It really only needed to be like 10 minutes. So I've kind of done that. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing next. Whatever comes to my brain.
Yeah.
I think like writing these ones, it just because I'm used to doing like the St. James one, so I was like, okay, well, so this is the prompt this year, kind of thing. Is how it felt. Like I was like, okay.
Well, good. We've been training you.
Yeah.
And the OGP shows that, or the James shows that Deborah is referencing is our sister company OGP does a couple shows a year at the St. James Tavern, Valentine's Day and July 3rd, Red, White, and Boom. And she's one of our most prolific folks. She always writes great stuff for us. So speaking of which, anyone out there who wants to write, our deadline this year, December 31st, midnight, our theme, lovesick. So write a 2 to 5 minute play. I don't know that we had any more parameters than that, but a small cast is also a bonus. Yeah, and I was just going to talk about just a little bit briefly here that just from a production standpoint, we ended up, I think, having 8 actors for the OGP show total, because then we wanted to limit, and there were a couple of folks, we had a Friday night programming, Saturday night, and so 2 of the nights, or Friday night, one guy didn't have to be there, and Saturday night, another guy didn't have to be there. So there was only so many people backstage, and we kind of ended up there with this as well. I think we only had 7 folks. We had some folks opt out, which totally get, because Ohio is crazy with the COVID. They love it. What's that? Oh, we have a question. So, but anyway, what's the question?
The question is about how the playwrights are able to set up situations in short plays versus long plays. They have less time to set up, but they still manage to get the audience there and to suspend their disbelief. Can they talk about that and how they do it?
Yeah, so essentially the question is the challenge of getting all your thoughts, I guess, into a 10-minute show as opposed to a full-length show. For myself, I know I've never even attempted a full-length, so I prefer 10 minutes because, yeah, I just run until my characters decide to stop talking. Or I just have an end built in. So I would, yeah. But anyway, I know, Bethany, I know you've read some full-lengths because I've read them, and I've seen them perform. But yeah, how do you approach them differently? I guess maybe you have to, but
I actually don't approach them any differently. To me, and every playwright is going to be so different, right? I find the process super fascinating, and everybody starts with something different. I have a friend who starts with the title of a play. For me, I start with the concept. And so a full length is about me exploring that concept through multiple avenues, in multiple ways, through multiple relationships and multiple, character arcs. A short play, no time for that. It's the concept, get it done, stay focused, right? And maybe get one sort of hint at a character arc in there. So yeah, I use the same formula. I don't approach it any differently.
Yeah.
It's just a lot easier, and it makes me feel way more accomplished. I wrote 2 plays today. They were both 5 minutes, but I finished.
Favorite kind of plays.
Right. But I gotta be
and to read.
Yeah.
They're easier to rehearse too. Deborah and Cory, I don't know. Have you guys written full lengths? Well, Cory, you did for Catco, right?
Let me unmute myself. So I've got 17 plays. 5 of them are full length.
Okay.
The 3 monologues this summer, so 9 short plays as well. I guess when I go in and when I start, I know it's going to be full length, or it's going to be short, or it's going to be monologue. And with the monologues, with all the plays, it's a lot of editing and revising and cutting. So the monologues kind of start off as short plays, and then they get cut even further because, say you have a short play that's 10 pages long. Well, you can't have a 10-page monologue because that's going to go on forever, and everybody's just going to run from the theater. So it's just a matter for me of revising, trying to get down to the basic thing that I'm trying to say. And I guess I'm more organic in my approach. I don't necessarily I have like a beginning idea and a thought where I want to get at the end, but I don't necessarily have the through line or a particular outline. It just kind of happens as I write, and a lot of what I write gets thrown in the trash as I go along.
Deborah, you were going to say something?
Yeah, just, well, I guess to follow on that, I think when I do the longer stuff, I have to live with it longer. And so that, I think that has more kind of like, I'll write it and then I'll put it away and then I'll come back to it and I'll revise it. But I think I tend to do more short ones because before, like, I think when I started out with writing, I did more poetry. So I kind of have like that approach, like, and when I would do, I was in I used to be a long time ago in like a writing group. And so, and it was weird because I was one of the poets, but then we also had like short story writers. But so, yeah, my approach then was like, we would get a writing prompt. I would write it. If it wasn't working, I would just start over. And so I think I kind of do that like with the short plays, like I'll get started writing. And like, if it's not working, then I just kind of like, just leave it and then just start over. Like, and so it's kind of more brutal. It's like this weird Darwinian thing almost, like with the short plays. It's like, okay, it's either going to work and I'm going to go with it or I'm going to ditch it. And then, but the longer stuff, that it tends to be, I'm like, okay, I think something's there. I'll put it away. Like I might live with it for a few years. Like it's a whole thing.
Put a pin in what you were saying about throwing stuff away. We'll come back to that real quick. My process is similar to Cory's. I usually have an idea of a beginning and an ending. I kind of have an overall concept, like Bethany said, and then I usually have lines of dialogue I know I want to use. And then that way I only have to write a little bit. And usually I just kind of stream of consciousness it. And then I'm not great at revising, but I know that's being a good writer. But I'm good at going back and realizing what I left out or what doesn't make sense or what I missed. I did help write a full length once, but I only wrote like 25 pages of it. So again, I stayed with the format, and it was kind of a vignette-y kind of thing. I wrote my part kind of in conjunction with other folks. But what you made me think, Deborah, was my next question, which is, were there any ideas you guys had for this that you started and then abandoned?
Actually, well, I did, but I think that the Holiday Curse, actually, I was trying to write something where there was like a holiday Santa like role play thing happening, like sex role play thing happening,
Mm-hmm.
and then that, I think for like 2 days it didn't happen. Like for 2 days I had that like in my head, and I started writing it, and I have like papers somewhere with lines on it. But yeah, that didn't work. And then, but so weirdly, then when I did the Holiday Curse, they actually kind of reference a role-playing thing, but I don't know if that might have been my subconscious, I guess. And it kind of knew that that's the play that had started before. But so, yeah, that's kind of how that one came about. I don't know how else that happened, but yeah.
Cool. It lived on. A little bit of it lived on.
A little, yeah.
They say kill your darlings, but I don't believe darlings die. If you kill something you really loved, it's going to come back. It's going to come back in a weird way. I am my biggest critic. So like, I hate most of the ideas I come up with. So of course I came up with so many ideas, but like, I'm too self-critical to pursue them any further if I smell even the slightest thing off with them. So I can't even tell you what they were. But I mean, no, I wrote 3 plays that I submitted, and those are the 3 plays I wanted to write. Those were the 3 plays I submitted. So thank God. I hate throwing away stuff, but I do it all the time. I throw away a lot of full lengths. I don't live with my full length maybe as well as I should. If I know, for instance, I've been asked to write a full length that I'm working on right now, and I threw away 3 drafts, one of which was over 50 pages. Sometimes it's not working.
You don't literally print them out and throw them away, because then people may go through your garbage, and all of a sudden we're going to have garbage man playwrights. Which, there's nothing wrong with that. We'd love to have.
If someone knows what to do with the stupid thing, that's fine. I almost wish I could print them out and light them on fire. That would make me really
Now that's a party. Once we get done with COVID, that's a good party. A summer party. Good summer party. Yeah, good. Oh, we do have a question?
We do. Do you base characters on real people?
The question is, and Cory, if you want to answer that question about what we threw away, please chime in as well. Do you base their characters on real people? And you don't have to reveal who that person is.
The answer is yes, and I'm not saying anything more.
Ladies?
I mean, I have sort of 4, and I'm working on a 5th, like sort of stock character, which is how I approach character. I have my 4 characters that I can cast and recast whoever I choose. I'm working on a 5th. One day I'll get there. And those characters are very rich, and they've been with me for a really long time. So I wouldn't say I base characters off of people I know, but there are definitely life circumstances that come up that when my with my poor mother or sister sees a play and they're just like, hey, I feel like I should sue you for like copyright infringement. So obviously, we write what we know. I write what I know, but.
Yeah, I tend to do that too. I don't know if like the whole character is based on a person, but I definitely get inspired by people and also myself and stuff. And then actually the OGP did a night in my mind, I guess, like a number of plays, and that was kind of surreal because I was like, wow, I have issues, but it was but it's like I knew kind of what each of them was from and like what it was referencing, and I was kind of like reliving, like it was kind of
I know
like
when
life
we
sort
talk
of
about your shows, Deborah, we always think this happened or these are real people in our minds, but
yeah. Or I wanted it to happen because I think there was one that involved the theft of a coffee maker that I like definitely regret not doing, but yeah.
we were very positive that one happened. Yeah. I also base some of my characters on real people. Bethany knows because she played a version of a Colleen in the first show, the show we met her in. She was in a show of mine that I directed, and she was playing a version of a Colleen. She nailed it, by the way. And Keith Jackson, who was also in the show, was a better version of me than me. So it was nice to have a playwright on the show and make it better. Was there another question?
There is. The question is, did you, Stephen, base your character in A Jolly Neighbor on William H. Macy?
The question is, did I base my character in Jolly Neighbor on William H. Macy? Maybe subconsciously. When we were rehearsing it, I had Foghorn Leghorn in my brain. And I told Tay that, and I said, I think he's kind of Foghorn Leghorny. I say boy, I say boy, I say boy, because I felt like the rhythm and everything was that. I used to not like getting William H. Macy, but now I'm okay with getting that. The older I get, and most people are like, you're like that guy in Shameless. I'm like, well, you have no idea. But actually, that show was written by Derek Smith, one of our young writers. 2 years in a row, he was one of our young writers. So it was cool to be in a show. I was his mentor the first year, and we just chose our young writer shows just a couple weeks ago. So we're getting that going. So that maybe we'll have an audience, but either way, those are going to happen. And we got some cool scripts, and Deborah and Bethany are both national mentors for that. So just a little bit of right now, I guess that's our next show, I think, at Mad Lab, but maybe stay tuned. Unless Laura wants to talk again, but most of the other stuff's just still in development because COVID, we're playing it by ear. Oh yeah, that makes sense. The Shoveler and Mystery Man. Yeah, I forgot all about that. Yeah, Tay brought in the shovel. She was like, I think you should have something else to do besides just yapping your neighbor. That's why Tay is a great director. Trying to think about anything else.
I have one more question.
Oh, we got another question.
Do playwrights prefer comedies or dramas, and do they ever cross over between the two?
That's good. Do you guys have a preference, comedy, drama? And do they sometimes write the other? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, does a drama turn into a comedy? Or?
Oh, I see what you're saying. So do you have a preference, comedy or drama, and do you occasionally start with a comedy and ends up a drama, or drama that ends up with a comedy, or?
I have definitely started with a drama and ended up with a comedy, but I didn't even know it. That's actually how I started writing comedy. Back when I was in my writing group, I wrote dramas. And then when we would read them, people would laugh and tell me that I was really good at writing comedy. And then I just kind of went with it. I was like, absolutely, that's what I set out to do. So yeah. Just whatever it ends up being. And I guess people tell me if it's a drama or a comedy.
Cory or Bethany?
I write it mostly from the perspective of being an angry queer feminist. So I feel like drama, obviously, but I think there's a lot of and I mean, I like a good romantic dramedy. Me, I mean, I'm always gonna have a little romance in there. I don't know. It's hard to like genreify all your stuff unless you're like straight up absurdist or something like that. I think probably at least from the wonderful shows I got to see from this time, I felt like there was a little drama, a little comedy, and everything for the most part. And I think that's wonderful. I think that's very human.
Well, and that's one of the ones, the show we did for the OGP show, I thought this is really funny, and then audiences though were like, oh, this is so sad, because Will Mackey was such a sympathetic character that they laughed a little, and then they were just like, oh. I don't know if I've ever heard more ahs in a 5-minute show than I did for that. So, but those guys did a great job with it. Yeah, so I guess sometimes the audience just decides for us.
This is true. Thank God for that.
I know at one point, I think I was going to go darker with Pain and Fortune, and Colleen talked me out of it. I think that was the deal. The prison obviously was going to be a dark one, or I guess it could have turned into a comedy, I guess, too. you have those two characters. Hermie wouldn't do well in prison, that's for sure. Rudolph would probably do okay, but Hermie, there was another question. Oh, Doug Pohida, one of our other writers, he wrote A Christmas Miracle. He couldn't make it for this, but he does have a question for the rest of us. Do any of the writers have rituals that they follow before sitting down to churn out a chunk of work?
Yeah, I write every day, and I write every day at 9. And God help me if anyone opens that door. That scratches. I don't care. I mean, I think that interruptions are just death. So for 2 hours, I sit with my tea on a bed. And I think there's something very important to that is my space. It's our guest bed. Nobody bothers me in there. Halfway through, I'll take a quick break. I think that writing does become very ritualized. I think the habit is actually really important. Mm-hmm. I think getting into that mental place and preparing your brain for that habit is so important. But I think also there have been seasons of my life where I just write whenever the heck I can, and 20 minutes at 5 o'clock. That's what we got to do sometimes. Like the consciousness, I wrote over 3 days from like 4 to 6 because I was in the midst of teaching, and that's the best I could do. So.
But it's almost like working out. I almost think that you do it every day, and it becomes. I've said to Colleen before that I think if we gave you 4 parameters, you could write a full length by tomorrow. If we were like, you got 24 hours, here's 4 parameters. I think you're just.
Don't challenge me. Don't lay down that gauntlet. That sounds like fun.
I think we have another show idea.
Also, hi, Doug. Hi, Doug.
Cory and Deborah, how about you guys?
I guess for me, just one of the best pieces of advice I ever received for writing is just sit your ass down in the chair and get to work. It's the discipline, and I have been disciplined at times and very undisciplined at other times, but attempting to write for a set period of time every day is very important. And I think adhering to that as best I can has been what's helped me produce anything. So that's my take on it.
Yeah. Deborah?
No, I don't really have any rituals, I guess. Yeah, it's, no.
Mine, this won't surprise Doug, usually involves Absolute Vodka. And I'm kind of I shouldn't say the opposite. I talk about writing every day, but don't do enough of it unless it's MadLab copy or OGP copy, social media copy. But I do know that I can't write unless I'm doing kind of like you're talking about, Bethany, which is I just got to sit down and do this and knock it out and set aside that time, because otherwise it's never going to get done, and I like I said, I have an outline and I have these beats I want to hit and then go back and take other looks at it. But yeah, I think it's, when you're there, you got to be focused on it. Obviously you guys are very good at this. So, supposedly nobody can multitask, and I sure as heck don't want to do it here. I'm sure there are some writers. I feel like Mark Harvey Levine, he can probably do it, but he's superhuman.
Art can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, he might be in here right now writing a play as we speak. But yeah, do we have any other questions, Tom?
Well, I don't have any rituals, but then I have the rule that like, if I have the idea in my head, then it gets attention. Like, so there's sometimes where obviously it can't, like, because I'm doing this or something, or if I have like a set thing that I have to go do. But if it's like, if I'm hungry, or even if it's bedtime and I'm really tired, but the idea jumps in my head, then okay, I'm just not going to get as much sleep. Like, so I have that where it's like, when it does show up, then it gets full attention.
Yeah.
So.
Like I said, the show I wrote that Bethany was in, I had an outline. I had 10 things I wanted to hit, but when I wrote it in like an hour. And I forgot I submitted it. So when Jim Azelvander sent it to me on my list of that night, the shows that were on my night, I was like, why the hell is my name on here? It's like, what is this show? I even forgot the title. So I'm not good at titles. That's the one thing I'm not good at. But yeah, I hadn't been kicking the ideas around long enough. But again, it's that sitting down, getting to it. And I might not have had vodka then either. So that might have helped in that instance, my focus. Colleen wants me to mention that we're doing Cory's show, right? Yeah, Cory, I think Cory, yeah, you know this, Midnight Audio Theater is going to be doing Cory's show. That's a radio show here.
Know.
What channel?
I didn't know.
Oh, Cory didn't know. Oh. Well, Cory, your show is going to be on Christmas morning at 10 o'clock. I got the details here.
Thank you.
10 a.m. on why can't I remember? 90.5 FM. Why can't I remember? WCB, one of our public radio stations. So 10 a.m. This Christmas Day. And some other folks, Short North Stage is going to have a show, Columbus Children's Theater, Gay Men's Chorus, so we're in pretty good company there. So yeah, it'll just be the audio of the show, but tomorrow it'll work perfectly. So I'm glad I could break the news. The breaking news on this talkback. You don't usually get that in a talkback.
Emailing Cory was on my to-do list, so I'm just going to cross it off my to-do list and act like I did it.
I do have a question.
Sure.
Are you going to be able to use that last word in the play on the radio?
They're going to bleep it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I wondered about that.
Yeah, they wanted family friendly, and we were like, "Do you know who we are, right?" So that's cool.
Well, thank you.
So, unless somebody else has something for the good of the order.
Well, I want to ask something because
sure.
I guess from what I've been hearing, my ritual is a little different in terms of writing. So like for the last 10 years or so, everything I've written, I've just been laser focused on it. So I'll start it, whether it's full length or short, and I'll write it through to the end without any other work, and I'll finish it. And there's never been a piece that I've just set aside, and I've always finished it. I may go back and revise it a little bit later, but I always work through and finish it. And maybe that's a weird way to work. It sounds like it kind of is. Has nobody else seems to kind of do that, or maybe I'm mishearing?
Oh, that's how I work.
Okay.
That's how I work. Mm-hmm. I don't have the attention span or the capability to have many things whirling around. And even with the development process, I am only developing one play at one time. Like I'm bringing the same play to all my reading groups. I'm working on that until I feel like it's ready to be produced. I just don't have to focus otherwise.
I don't think we talked about pitching things. I don't think I ever pitch anything. I may not, there's definitely plenty of things I don't finish. But lately, Cory, I'm probably more like you. If I started, I'm going to finish it. Back in the day, I probably didn't have the outlets, or as I do now, or places to submit it to, or I run OGP, so I can, if I want to do a show, I'm going to do a show. Dang it. But so that helps make me more focused, I think, on completing things. So, but I do, I think I still have, the last time we did a Christmas sketch show that I could work Hermie into, well, I guess 2 years ago we did, but I was too lazy for that. But 12 years ago, I still have 1-minute sketches I wrote for Hermie, actually, from there. But I finished them, but didn't do anything with them. So, but yeah. So, Deborah, sorry, I didn't let you get in there.
No, no, I don't. So, it depends on what it wants to do. Whatever's in my head, if it wants to be finished, it'll be finished. But yeah, like I said earlier, there's some stuff where I start it and I'm like, this isn't happening, and I just throw it out. So, well, I don't throw it out, I guess, to clarify it, because I save it all, but it just gets buried on the computer in a pile of notes or something. Because I had a friend in college who she would write, if she was writing a personal essay or something and she didn't like the way it was going, and then because she'd be on the phone with me and she's like, I don't like it, I'm deleting it. And I'm like, no, don't, just cut and paste it into a different file or something. But she would just totally delete it, and then an hour later be like, do you remember what it is that I wrote? And I'm like, I don't remember what why didn't you just cut and paste it? So to clarify, I don't delete the stuff. It just gets stored somewhere. Yeah. So
there's a special folder in the Google Drive. There's a special folder, and yeah.
Yeah, I think I have a file folder, my troubled children or something, is where I stick the stuff that's not working out. So, but yeah.
Doug Bohida has another question, but I think we've kind of addressed it, but maybe not exactly. Have you guys ever got 75% through something and then gone back and looked at it and been like, what the hell was I thinking? Why did I do this? I guess, yeah. And then I feel like this is a very personal thing for Doug. This may have happened to him, but.
I have a whole folder full of that stuff.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
It doesn't happen when I'm writing, and it doesn't happen when I sit down to look at it again the next morning. It happens in the in-between. I mean, Ernest Hemingway talks a lot about how one oughtn't really think about one's work in between writing sessions because this happens, but sometimes it is because it genuinely stinks. You wrote a lie, you a character, you forced them to do something that they didn't need to do, and then you have to figure out where you told that lie, and it's the worst feeling in the world. Those are some long days and long sleepless nights. And sometimes, yeah, to Doug's point, sometimes it does result in, I told that lie a long time ago. I've really been stringing myself along. And into the Google Drive it goes. Probably never to be seen again, although to Deborah's point, I like the fact that it's still there somewhere.
The one time I can think of is something, actually, a project Doug worked on, which was, we did a 24 last August 2019. And I thought I was done at 150, so I reread it one more time. I was like, oh, and I kind of left out the whole reason why, essentially, one of the characters played by Will Mackey was a superhero, but I kind of left out how he became a superhero, or that he was a superhero, so the whole rest of the show didn't make sense. So I'm glad I caught that. And then at 2:05, I caught another error like that. This is the problem with writing at 2 o'clock. And again, Baco's involved in Donato's Pizza. And writing around a bunch of other writers, which all did a great job. But 24s are a different thing altogether. But that's the one that comes to my mind. But. Anybody else?
I guess I haven't experienced that, getting 75% through and thinking, I don't like it anymore, it's not working. But I think I write in a really weird way. So I will write 10 pages and then back up 7 and then work up to 15, back up 7. And, and I'm just throwing out numbers here, but back and forth, back and forth, back and forth as I'm writing until I get to the end. So I'm constantly revising as I go along. So maybe that's just non-standard for writers, but it works for me. And by the time I get to the end, I've been revising for so long that I'm fairly satisfied what I've got.
Yeah, and I think that's a very smart way to write, right? That's a very rich way to write. I think the problem with me is that I write 10 to 20 pages a day. And so sometimes I can outpace very quickly a problem that then only surfaces, only later can I see it. I think that sort of, Cory, that sounds so fascinating, that just like more introspective, like constructive, I think, kind of work. But we all are different, I guess, is my excuse.
I said whatever works for you. And obviously it's working. We're producing shows by all of you. So, and they were good shows.
Yeah, I think I have done the like 75%. I think I've done 100% and been like, what was I thinking? But I think it's part of the process. Is kind of what I tell myself, like, especially kind of to go back to like when I was in the writing group and I was doing like more poetry, there were times where it's like we would get a prompt and like I've had like a whole period of like, I don't know, like 6 months or a year or whatever, where it was like the first thing I wrote was always going to be bad, but like I needed to do it in order to get to the second or third thing. So I just figure, yeah, like sometimes like you just kind of have to like write the stuff that's kind of crap and then like to just get it out of the way and then like write through it. And the next stuff can be good. So
let me just mention real quick for everyone here. We also had a lot of great music. I think some folks mentioned in the chat. We sent out a call to the Mad Lab family and got a great response. We weren't able to necessarily get them all involved with the shows, but we've got a bunch of them on our Mad Lab page. So if you're, whatever you're doing for the holidays, if you want to get yourself in the mood, throw those on. And we've got Christmas and Hanukkah songs on there, or at least one Hanukkah song. I think Nikki did that. And Deborah, thank you for providing a Hanukkah play. We really wanted that. And so once again, you came through for us. And yeah, and Colleen learned how to say which involved a Google search, of course, and then just playing it repeatedly. But that's the kind of director I am. I bring that kind of professionalism to the rehearsals. But I will say, Colleen came into that show late, and Laura came into 2021, right? Great, late, and both did great jobs. So I'm getting the last second because again, COVID. So yeah, I think we'll wrap it up there. Thanks everybody. Thanks again for contributing. The shows will be available through the 31st. So if you have people that are like, oh, I didn't see it, we'll have them out there. We'll have them available for purchase till the 31st. And we will be beating the social media drum for people to check those out. I know for some people at 9 o'clock on the 25th, they're done with Christmas. But hopefully, that's right. Well, I'm at 9 p.m. But yeah, if they're done at 9, yeah, my parents were done at 9 a.m. on Christmas. They're like, we're done. So if you're in that group, 10 o'clock, 90.5 CB, listen to Cory's show. We'll keep it going. And yeah, does anyone have any other final words before we sign off?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Love this. This was a great time, and thank you for your brilliant work. It really is. I don't want to speak for the other playwrights, but for me personally, we've seen many kinds of Zoom plays and recorded plays, and these are up there. These are way up there. So thank you.
Good. That's very gratifying. We have some good filmers, and we haven't given up. Colleen Dunn, of course, my wife did a bunch of shows, and John Grody, who was in a couple of the shows, also did the other filming. They did the editing as well. So kudos to them. And yeah, so hopefully I'll see a lot of you somewhere or other soon. If not, happy holidays, and we'll be seeing you out there somewhere. And remember, 31st is the deadline for the OGP show. Send it to me, StephenW@madlab.net. You can get me there. Anyway, thanks everyone. I'll stop rambling. Colleen's giving me the wrap it up signal. She has the power to shut this down though. So thanks again, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night, all.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.